Yo, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Dana White just announced that they are going to be adding AI to the ranking system, and this is a unique idea. I think that this could pose a lot of issues that we're going to go over with today, but as well, there is a lot of pros to this decision. For those of you guys that don't know, I am going to school right now, currently for AI technology, and this is going to be an interesting um topic to cover because there is some pretty interesting facts that we need to talk about. But let's go ahead and react to exactly what Dana White said in this video.
What's up, everybody? UFC and Meta just signed a massive long-term partnership. Meta will now become UFC's first ever official fan technology partner. This is great news for UFC fans. Why? Because this means that Meta will use all of their badass apps and technology like Instagram, Facebook, Threads, WhatsApp, and Meta AI to create amazing content and experiences for UFC fans. We've already started to work with Meta to create a new fighter ranking system that will debut later this year, thank God. We'll also be using Meta's AI-powered glasses to capture UFC content.
That's
and
badass.
We're going to do things with Meta that will blow UFC fans away. The next few years will be an absolute game changer for fans of this sport.
All right, so let's go over a few of the pros of AI being implemented into the UFC ranking systems. Number one, I think the obvious one is the fact that, we do see a lot of politics. We do see a lot of favoritism, a lot of fighters that are like not liked or perceived to be liked all too well in the UFC. There's a lot of personal bias. There's a lot of human biases that we do see in the sport that does affect the ranking system without a doubt. Anybody out there that disagrees with that point just isn't honest with themselves, just isn't honest with the way that we all know the UFC is towards many fighters, some that don't deserve some of the hate and some fighters that don't deserve some of the praise. I mean, let's just go ahead and be honest about that. I mean, eliminating some of the human biases, implementing AI, that could definitely help, and that's a big pro for the ranking system that we could definitely expect to see. I think that that's a good thing. Also, one of the good things is real-time updates. Sometimes whenever it's the weekend and we have a big fight card, right, and we see a fighter win a fight, there could be stats, there could be very important, things that went down in the fight that could be updated instantly. And those instant updates could pretty much give us a real, a rank within seconds, minutes, even hours after the fights take place. And I think that that is definitely a good thing as well. Obviously that's going to create more transparency, and transparency is always a good thing, especially with those like obsessed fans that just want to know each and every single detail. Like, that's always going to be a very good thing. Creating transparency is a great thing. Also with the matchmaking, I mean, if fighters, and the stats are pretty much up to date always as soon as possible, we could see more consistent matchmaking, so that, like I said, fighters that deserve to get moved up, they do get moved up, and we start seeing a little bit more competitive matchmaking, which could be an issue, and we're going to go ahead and talk about that a little bit later. I think that that could definitely be a big drawback because, like I said, having human biases, I think, is something that has driven the sport a lot, right? Because there's some fighters that we all know that they get an opportunity and they skip over a couple of people in the rankings because, they do get a little bit of that Dana White privilege. And let's just be honest, that is a very real thing. Dana White privilege, if you're getting knockouts, if you're sitting people down, TKOs, stopping fights, I think that you are definitely getting a little bit of a Dana White privilege, and that's obviously a human bias that we all know that it does exist in the UFC. So that could potentially play an issue in the future, and we're going to go ahead and cover that into this next segment where we start covering some of the cons regarding adding AI into this ranking system. So I think that one of the main things that we could definitely see with this ranking system is the lack of context, the lack of certain variables that definitely do happen in the sport. And I think that this is where things start getting a little bit finicky. I mean, stats are always important. That's something that we definitely do need to see in the sport. But then there's always going to be some arguments out there. Well, some fighters, they walked into the octagon being injured. There's some fighters out there that definitely are affected by controversial decisions like we see all too well. I mean, this is just one step forward into AI judging. In my opinion, I really do think that the UFC has a master plan on potentially having AI decide some fights. And this is pretty much what this whole video was about, because once you start adding AI into combat sports, it just keeps going further. It's 100% going to keep going further. And adding AI into the ranking system, in my opinion, is going to create a conversation on, well, the ranking system is doing pretty well. The fans seem to like it. I mean, it's simple enough to understand. Why is judging, not up to date? We should probably implement some AI into the judging, which is honestly what I see happening. I 100% do see happening. I think that once AI gets introduced into the ranking system, we're going to see some more AI into other aspects of combat sports, that being the judging. Because how many times have we seen in multiple fights that fighters that are supposed to win lose? They're victims of bad judging, they're victims of controversial decisions. And like I said, maybe some fighter walks into the octagon and, they don't account for injuries whenever AI is taking some of those statistics into account. But I think that's one of the main things that whenever I saw this news, I was just like, this is a step towards AI judging, 100%, without a doubt. Also, with the loss of human element, there's gonna be a lot more fans that are gonna call out bullshit, from the ranking system. It's like, oh, why is this fighter, getting a much more favorable career defining matchup versus this other fighter that's higher in the rankings? And what's Dana White gonna say? Like, oh, the AI is wrong? No, he's gonna be the fans are gonna apply more pressure towards Dana White when this gets introduced into the UFC ranking system, 100%, because we all know that Dana White does have, those fighters that are under his wing on that Dana White privilege, and there is gonna be, fans out there that are going to be like, oh, but the AI, that's never wrong, the robot, the AI is never wrong. You get what I'm saying? And they're gonna start calling out a little bit more of the bullshit. And in my opinion, it's just gonna be a lot harder to defend on Dana White's part to actually start admitting that some fighters are definitely getting Dana White privilege because of how they're winning fights, which is a human bias at the end of the day. There could be also like potential manipulation. The AI system isn't transparent. I mean, I don't know how they're gonna use really AI for the ranking system. This could potentially create a problem because in if they go 100% with the rule book, I think that some fans might even start calling that out, like, oh, can we start getting a 100% detailed, super up to date way that the ranking system is going to work? And I think that this could potentially call in and cause an issue, obviously, because in my opinion, like, people are going to start doubting the AI system 100%. And there is also no way for us to tell if there's going to be glitches or errors, or if the AI picks everything that it's supposed to, depending on how much money the UFC is like willing to implement into these sort of things, because glitches and errors do happen in AI development, and they do happen when people are developing some of these AI programs. And all this stuff is super complicated, but at the end of the day, like, the AI is only supposed to do what the AI is, pretty much commanded to do. And there's just no telling on how accurate, this stuff is going to be. Definitely there is going to be some fan backlash. I could already see it. I could already expect it within the first couple of years of the AI system existing. I think it's going to take a while for them to finally perfect it. But I think that there is going to be some major, 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 major issues. I think that this is just something that the UFC is trying to implement. I think that they might scrap it if this just doesn't turn out or doesn't pan out the way they thought it will. And I think the main thing that is probably gonna caused the UFC to trash his entire idea of having AI into the ranking system is the fact that we know that Dana White has his biases 100%, and he does tend to give, some fighters that bring in that precious fan base that he always wants from fighters, and they end up getting some really incredible opportunities just because Dana White, is trying to push them as much as possible, because at the end of the day, this is a business. And because this is a business, um, fan backlash being a thing, I think, my honest opinion, this could be a bad decision for the UFC, in my honest opinion. I think that they're gonna scrap it. I don't think that we're gonna have AI in the ranking system forever. I think that this is a step into the direction of having less human interaction with the sport. I don't know what you guys think about that. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Personally, I do think that this is a step towards the direction of having AI judging at some point. Um, Unique idea. Didn't ever think that this would finally be a thing. I thought that we were gonna see, AI be implemented in the ranking system maybe like a year from now in 2025, but it's kind of crazy that UFC is partnering up with Meta on this one. But let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. As always, it's a pleasure. Peace out and have a good one.